A girl was sitting at the table, a man was with her, and she started to tell him that last night she had a dream that she was dying. The man supported the dialogue. Apparently she had a bad dream, maybe it was a prophetic dream. The fortune teller came down so the girl should go listen to it, after all she will like it. The girl replied that it was invented by their ancestors to pass on power through the royal lineage. Even if many people believe it, it doesn't mean it is true. She is aware of it. The first time in a long time she invited him to the garden to sit in a place, but the man was on his own. He called it a waste of his precious time. Nevertheless, if they continued to talk about her dream last night, she thought suddenly that she was looking at herself from the outside. It felt as if her soul had left her body. There was darkness and the sound of the sea waves. And he was the only one around. The man was surprised at such a thing. He could be announced as the most powerful criminal and arrested, and the girl would like to see such a thing. The man has noticed how the girl likes to give him trouble. Everyone who sees him is eager to pull off his mask. According to the man, he does not wear a mask, and if you remove the skin of the face, there will be only flesh and bones. Even if she has to die and she has to go to court, the judgment becomes on the real facts, to translate into reality. The man asked if the girl had anything to add. She replied that he had a premonition. She thought it would be really good if he could be by her side. The man replied that it was certainly if she had the ability to predict the future, there was nothing to do. Moreover, the man made sure to love her. Because of this, the man got angry and said that if she realizes the topic again, he is leaving. The woman asked the man not to leave and called him kills and also asked him to look at her. The man asked if she is now going to order him to kneel, but he is not a knight of royalty after all. He is an all-powerful wizard of the ivory tower. The girl also replied that she is a perfectly ordinary man. Said she is a commoner, bound by blood ties to the buckbow. Worshipped him as an incarnation of Ingram. He doesn't talk about social status or other people's opinions. But the girl told this to interest him because he always likes something special. In the dream of the actors, she said earlier, she was close to death, but she was not afraid. And all because he was right next to her, his eyes like he had been looking at her for 2 months. So wanted to give thanks. After that she walked only behind his back. They were together. She was growing in this darkness and it was impossible to see anything. They were walking towards the sea of stars. The girl asked what was the end of this journey, because he is a wizard and knows everything. Even her death will not stop his indifference. Only one day, and for the last time, she asked to love her. The little girl ran, and behind her ran a man and said that there was nothing there, because they were now living a horse. Of course there is a village and vast seas. The little girl picked the flowers and wondered if her father would like the flowers. The little girl said that she would like to eat grass, then she would never be hungry. She walked and looked at how beautiful the sea was, but on the way she met a raven and looking closer she saw that it was a man. She wondered if it was a man. The girl saw a man crying. She approached him and the man stood up sharply at one moment, which frightened the girl. He asked the girl the name Rose. He thought the girl seemed familiar. The girl ran away from the fright. When she came home she met her father who scolded her for walking anywhere. The girl tried to explain that she was picking flowers on the rocks. But still the girl's father ordered her to get out. He didn't see the need to waste his time on such a thing. Even the father didn't understand how he could raise such a brash and useless daughter. His whole day is ruined when he sees her. And the girl hoped he would be kinder if she brought flowers, all from this guy. The girl wanted to bring water to her father. When she opened the door she met a man in black. She screamed in fear to the whole village. The girl's father asked what kind of man was standing at the door. Kills asked how old the girl was, but the father didn't know, but it was about 10 years old. The man wanted to take her to his house, but the father didn't want that, because the man fell on their heads, and now he's talking nonsense, so he tried to see him off, but a bag of gold coins convinced the father to give up his daughter, and now the father has to understand that for that money he can buy a whole castle, but the man thought she was worth even more. But her father didn't seem to understand the price, and now there was a need to discuss how much her price had dropped. The man asked if her father had ever beaten her. Then he put aside a couple of gold coins. After he asked if her father had scolded her, he also put aside coins fed, and so on. Only a few gold coins were left, and also, Kills said that he could have just killed the man. He should thank the girl and that it didn't happen. The girl to the last hoped that her father would not give her, but she replied that she is an obedient girl and this uncle will feed and clothe her well. The girl promised that the whole house will clean, only let not leave her. The man also said that she was his own daughter and he was going to do it a long time ago, but only now he decided to do it. 10 years ago he accidentally found her on the beach and thought she might be the lost child of aristocrats. So he picked her up to get her for the birth. But no one ever came. After that he hurt his leg and could not work anymore. There was nowhere to take money, it felt like he was a hostage. So he was always angry, and since he had money, he could start from scratch. The girl replied that she would go with a famous man. The girl left the house. She had a short haircut. The man asked if her father was holding him for a fool. The man took the girl in his arms and said that she was his child now. If the man even tried to put his hands on her, he would lose them quickly. Let him be glad he did not do it at once. The boy said that it was not the most comfortable carriage and asked if the girl could bear it. She had never traveled in a carriage. But it didn't make any difference if she had just been sold. The man asked if she had taken all her things with her. She replied in the affirmative. The girl sat in the carriage with the man. She looked at her father. Perhaps today was the first time he was happy with her. Most of all she wanted to ask if he ever loved her. She thanked him for raising her, and that he'd better not drink so much. The boys were driving in the woods and the man asked if the girl had ever loved him. He was so hard on her. The girl replied that it didn't matter. The guy said his name was Kills. The girl didn't understand what was going on. Her father said she could be the daughter of aristocrats. When he was having a drink at the bar he casually told her that there was still slavery in Ismacania and that he should have sold his daughter there. The girl didn't know what slavery was, but he sold her and got money for it. Kills asked the girl's name and she said her name was Ossia. The girl also asked why he chose her. The village is full of other children, but she is glad that he bought her and thanked him for giving the money to her father. Kyles did not understand why the girl thanked him, but Ossia replied that maybe with the money her father would be happier than with her. The man realized that he should have killed the father and just taken the girl. The guy replied that he was not angry with the girl and she still does not know where they are going. Turns out they're going to Mountain Kerenzia, yeah. And that's the only way out of the steppe. It's right next door to the Nurmaz. It's not strange though, it's just a land that's separated from Caldragan and the town of Reyes is on the edge of the steppe. The girl fell asleep in the carriage. The guys arrived in the town, and Kills told them that Reyes is on the border of the steppe, so there are a lot of travelers here. It is not very big in itself, but there are some decent hotels. First they had to pick out the girl's clothes, and the girl was a bit embarrassed. Ossia had never seen anyone walking around in such old clothes. The girl said she had no money at all, and the man said he would pay for her. Ossia tried to explain that she didn't need new clothes, she could wash what she was wearing now. The guy asked what she would wear while she was drying off. He just took the girl and pulled her into the shop. She realized that her long would be getting longer and longer. They were met by a salesman. One room cost 80 coins and a better one would cost 3 rits. The man informed them that 2 one-ton rooms with meals were needed. They came to the first floor. The girl did not understand how she could get back so much money. Clothes were never bought. The girl went into the room and saw how luxurious it was. And the girl understood that for such a room 3 coins was not a pity to give. Looking at the room, she decided to leave. Such a man was surprised and asked where she was going to go. He took her and shoved her into the room and told her to rest, and he needed to leave for a while. The girl stayed by herself in the room. She was waiting for the guy, but a woman came into the room and ran a bath for the girl to wash herself. Ossia tried to tell that this was her room, but the maid didn't think so. A guy with dark hair, her companion, had sent her here. Need to wash quickly before the water left. The girl took a warm bath. She had never bathed in such hot water. The maid brought a change of clothes and asked her to come down when she was done. Kills was already sitting downstairs. And the girl thanked for the new clothes and the man said that it was just for the first time. Later he bought something better. The girl replied that it was enough for her. She would work hard to pay off the debt. The man did not understand why. He did not know why she thought so, but there was no need. Ossia told him that she's a good cleaner. She's also good with children. She even looked after Miss Linda's baby. Then she can pay off her debt if she becomes a nanny. She is also good at climbing. She doesn't know if it will be useful, but earlier the man said he couldn't listen to it anymore. He also asked her never to say such things again. The girl was frightened, but the maid brought dinner. There was a lot of good food at the table and the girl took everything she saw and liked it very much. The man said that he had gone to the stables. It was not easy to find a wagon with a roof. It seemed that now they would be able to cross the prairie safely. The man said that to get to the rest of the mainland they would have to cross the Nurmaz steppes. It would take at least a month. But there will be almost no settlements around, so it is necessary to prepare enough supplies, and it is also said that there are demons there. That's what the maid told me. I've been seeing him a lot lately. He wasn't in the steppe before. She was wondering why he decided to stop there. Also the girl pointed to a group of men who were going to go across the prairie. The guys said they were traders. The girl already thought that the man would use her instead of a sheep to distract the demons. The clothing room, even the food was her last meal. The girl was scared. Already in the morning the girl didn't look good, but it was time for the guys to leave. The woman escorted them and wished them good luck and a safe journey. They drove to the Grave of the Winds. The man asked the girl her opinion of what the area looked like, as it was her first time here. She replied that it was amazing, it was so big, but only the sound of the wind could be heard. There are many mystical places on the mainland. The Namaza Steppe is one of the top 3. This is where magic trains or teleportation scrolls become safe. Simply put, magic does not work in the steppe. While this seems like an advantage when it comes to enemy invasions, it backfired on them. In how much with the territory was isolated from the rest of the mainland. At the same time as the rest of the area the railways were being laid. The Nurmaz people felt abandoned. So they separated from the Caldragon. Isolation is a useful thing, but not when it happens inland. The girl asked how big the world was. The man pulled out a map of the mainland. He pointed to the place they were now crossing. It was very small. The girl also wondered if she would be able to visit all these places. Someone was approaching them. The men warned Kilsa that there was a demon on the way, and it was better to turn around. And it's better not to ask at all what kind of trouble there is. Some people think it's a bad omen, and warned the guy to go back for his gun at least. The stranger picked up on the guy's intuition that they were STA traders. The man noticed that Nurmaz was famous for its high-quality wool. They wanted to trade, but they got into trouble. But Keles wouldn't listen. He said he could handle it himself. Of course the guys had warned him, and the man noticed that the guy had never held a sword in his hands, but that was his problem. As the guys traveled on, it was already night and it started to rain. The guy suggested to rest for a while. Keels asked the girl if she was afraid of demons, but she thought in her mind that the man looked much scarier. The boy said those men could be the reason the demon appeared. If they didn't lie about coming from STA, they could be scouts for the railway construction. That's why they were so nervous. They look like specialists for a preliminary survey of the area. Certainly not traders, no loaded wagons, no laborers. They lied to them, just pretended to be traders, but that's not accurate information. Firstly, you can't use magic on the steppe. It's a fact that the demon is a side effect of the human invasion. If they hadn't tried to use magic, it would not have appeared, and now there is a vicious circle. The demons are fought by magic, which creates them. The man assured that the girl was safe with him. He guaranteed it. Soon it would stop raining, by morning it would clear up, so he suggested to go to bed, and it was better not to listen to the sounds outside in general. Already at night the girl woke up, and it was interesting that if they did not have a horse cart, how long it would take to get to the village, and why it was necessary to pass such a way. The girl did not understand what he was up to, but she just did not want to die and did not care. And trying not to think about it, she heard a strange voice calling her name. And it sounded like it was her father. He was calling her home. The unknown voice said that it would be better for her to go home and he would give her back every penny. The girl already thought that the man was telling her not to listen to the voice because he knew that her father could come back, but it was still strange. She got out of the wagon and ran towards the voice. And she saw a white creature. The girl immediately began to run away. She was very scared. She wanted to return home. The unknown monster stretched out his hands to the girl, but suddenly appeared a few lightning. It was Kills. The girl was surprised because it was magic. Her father told her that he once saw a wizard fighting with him in the same squad, and he could move a mountain in an instant and turn the sea into a desert. As if it was not a man at all, but a guy came up to the girl and just hugged her. She already thought that he would demand the money back because she wanted to run away. She started to apologize, but he calmed her down. The man started to cry and thought that he would never see the girl again, and the girl asked the guy if it was needed as bait. He was surprised that the girl said that she thought it would be given to the devil. If she ran away, her father would get nothing. The man replied that wasn't so, and she was wrong. He didn't take it for that. To make her happy. And she doesn't have to worry about money. He could swear that to her any number of times. He'd give up a whole continent just to have her by his side. The girl asked why. She was told because she was a very important person to him, but they had only met 2 days ago. The girl said she didn't deserve such a thing, and the man just stood and gave her his hand to stand up. It was dawn. The man asked many people about her. Her father is a different person, but he can't tell who she is yet, but she is very dear to him, and that's why he must protect her. The girl said she couldn't give anything in return, and the man's face changed. The girl thought he was going to hit her. He just took her hand and stroked her head. And he was already paid enough for her running away. It was his fault he didn't explain properly. He thought she would be too scared if she told the details. It was good that the defense worked. The girl answered that she heard her father's voice, but now the girl understood it from the beginning. Her father never came for her. He would never comfort her, and still she hoped. The girl wanted to sleep, so the man wrapped herself in a blanket and carried the carriage. The man replied that there are no more mirror spirits here, so she can sleep well. That's the name of this creature. They whisper to them to follow them and say what they want to hear, most of all to their victim. The girl asked what the spirits whispered to the man. He remembered the woman calling him by name. But to the girl he replied that he had not been told anything. Of course she knew at once that he was in the stomach. Still, she'd like to think about what's in his head before she goes to sleep. But her sleep overcomes her. And the guy sat already on the bench and watched the map. The girl tried to read, but she read backwards. The guy replied that it would be necessary to teach her writing. The whole content was like a dragon. Ancient people thought the same way, so the myth of the giant dragon came about. It is quite famous. Once a giant dragon saw in the sky a golden bird, which immediately chased, but until the end of his life, and did not realize that catch up with her is not destined. This is the story that became the legend of the continent's origin. The legend is now very old. And although dragons exist, they are not that big. The girl asked what size they were then, and the man replied that they were about the size of the lake in front of which they were sitting. Now the girl was even more curious and asked where on the map their home was. The girl asked if there was anything special in that place. The man said yes, nothing special. Then the girl asked why they were going there. It was too complicated a question, but the man would be glad to go back there, and the girl was in the right place and it was starting to get evening. So they went back to the inn. The girl wanted to swim in the lake tomorrow. When the guys came to the inn, they didn't see people trying to turn the carriage over. The wheel was stuck. They were trying to fix it for a long time. Kills himself had hoped that it would be quiet when he chose this place. The guy used magic to fix the wheel. When they got inside the inn, the girl asked the guy how long it took him to learn magic. The guy replied 10,000 nights. When the guys sat down at the table, a woman approached them, but the guy replied that he didn't like the presence of a woman, so she should leave. The woman just wanted to thank the man for helping them with the carriage. Since her father-in-law is also a wizard, she knew it was him. The woman noticed that even the strongest sorcerers can't use magic without tools. That the woman wondered where the man was trained. She wanted to thank him. But Kills replied that she did not deserve such generosity, so she would refuse. And the woman came upon a little girl and asked if it was the man's apprentice. And the man replied that it was his niece he was looking after because of some circumstances. The woman apologized. It's just that the girl is the same age as her child. And the woman also thanked the man once again and said that she hoped the journey would be filled with only vivid memories. A child appeared behind her. He came up to the girl and told her that next year he would be entering the Ifran and would also become a wizard. The girl asked about what the boy had just told her. It's a school in Astoria, simply put, a school of magic. The nobles of that country usually send their children there. But it's hard to call it real magic, but children can also be trained. But he will go there next year. The girl asked if Kills was interested in learning magic. He answered in the negative. Not for a moment was he interested. She had never worn a dress like that in her life, so she was a little uncomfortable, but people around her were looking at her and admiring her beauty. She looked just like a doll. The guys also remarked how beautiful her blonde hair was. Now many people come on holiday, so they had prepared so many outfits in advance. This lace was specially delivered here from Sta by air. She agreed, it looked great, but she doesn't think that something so expensive suits her. The guys dragged her and gave her different outfits. One woman asked why she had a short haircut, because with long hair it would be even more beautiful. Only the girl wanted to tell about her father. Suddenly she heard another child running up to her father and talking about beautiful dresses. Ossia was asked which dress she liked better, but she didn't know herself. He said it looked good. Her father had never bought such a dress, and the girl did not understand why her companion is so kind. They are not even close. She would never have thought. He asked the girl what was wrong and she said it was nothing. On the way back to the hotel, the girl asked the guy if he wanted to be her father. On the way back the girl looked at the jewelry, but she didn't want to buy it. But suddenly she saw an automatic doll and she was interested in it. It repeats several magical movements. It's so big it's not bad. It's a magical device. The guy said they could buy it if she wanted to. Of course, the girl said she wanted to. They were already sitting on a bench in front of the lake. The guy asked if the girl wants to go back to her father. He bought her out for money and he has no excuses, so he wants to give her everything he can and hopes he can thank her a little. So let her only tell him the truth. He will buy anything and listen to any whims. The girl replied that she liked everything so much. An old man came up to the guys. It was an acquaintance. The man did not expect to meet Kilsa in this village. The guy himself asked why he was here. The old man replied that just traveled. His wife wanted to go to the north. Also the man noticed that Kilsa also has a sharp tongue and he hasn't changed at all. But the guy was already hiding Ossia behind his back. She said that you don't touch a man. But the old man wanted to introduce himself, it's noble etiquette. The girl herself didn't understand what was going on and who this grandpa was, but the old man saw that the girl looked like a woman. He couldn't believe his eyes, so he asked her name anyway. The man started to call the girl to him, but Kills stood between them and grabbed the man's hand and warned him that if he didn't respect the etiquette he holds dear. The man ran away, the old man left. Ossia asked who it was, but the guy told her not to think about it. Ossia suspected that someone knew about her. On the way back to the hotel a red-haired guy came up to them and greeted Kyles. The guy thought he was somewhere on the edge of the world. He didn't know he was exploring this continent. And an old acquaintance came up behind them. As the man realized yesterday's reunion had been wonderful, he personally let the Ivory Tower graduate meet. Kyles replied that they had never been friends. But the red-haired guy said that, missed him, and the old man wanted to take the girl. The old man replied that King Kaisu always get what he wants. He pulled out a watch, and Kyles replied that the man didn't have an ounce of dignity, and also didn't understand where the relic of Egeron was. He paid for lying in the face of authority and wandered like a dog. Alas, the abbot of Efrangi is not a generous man. Kyles asked the old man if he was going to fight him with the pieces of magic stolen from the dragon. Of course the man replied that he was ready to do it himself, but the altman was also going to tear him to pieces. He let the girl go and ordered her to go home. When she arrived, let her tell him that he sent her, she would follow. A girl woke up under a tree and was approached by an unknown boy with a torch. The girl had blood on her face. She was sure that Kyles had followed her. The boy asked if the girl was all right. She replied positively and he helped her stand up. Ossia also asked where her companion was. The boy replied that he hadn't come yet, and he thinks he will be back soon. The girl was still uncomfortable talking to her peers. The boy asked the girl how the trip went. She said it was interesting. The boy said that we have to go. The old man is waiting. The girl was surprised how the boy knows her. The boy replied that she was a star. Knocked on the door. They were opened by an old man. Ossia introduced herself and said that she was sent here by Kyles. The man did not understand how Kyles could trust him with a child. He began to look at the girl and after some time turned around and asked why they were in the north. The girl did not understand what was going on here. She did not hear his permission but shouted at her and said, "Let her enter the house." He gave her warm milk. The man said that he was lucky. Ossia did not know where to start, but she feels that her companion is in danger. The man replied that he had a proposal, that she was in danger. The man said that the girl was in danger. He said that she was in danger. The girl asked how strong her companion was and the grandfather said very strong. Compared to him, the two of them are like little children. Ossia asked the man if he was his teacher, but he replied that he was far from being a teacher, especially he doesn't even know how to use magic. Before he could show the girl something, the man created a magical instrument in his hand, an eye. It's like it's implanted in your body. Other people think that it is inborn. In how many times they have not encountered such a thing, but it was late and it was time to sleep, and here in the house there was a free room. The boy replied that there is dirt, it cannot he sleep, but the grandfather shouted at him because he had to clean there. But the boy replied that the man himself asked not to shout. He said he was going to sleep a little, so let him not disturb him until he woke up, but he did not receive an order to clean the room. As today is the girl's reception, she needs to sleep in his room. He must see that the boy will clean the room tomorrow. The boy to make the girl and Paul to the first floor, and also called his name Prime. The boy took Ossia to his room. He gave her pajamas and wiped her face open. Together they lay in the same bed. The girl replied that she was scared. Then the boy did not turn off the light and said good night. She couldn't sleep. The doll is broken and she is worried. She thought that if she asked Kilsa to fix the doll, will he fix it? But the boy wasn't here and she misses him. She looked outside for a long time but the boy didn't come back. The next day the girl woke up alone in bed. The doll was lying next to her. She didn't work anymore. When Ossia went down to the ground floor, there was a boy who had prepared breakfast. He wished her good morning. She asked the old man about her traveler. The man said that he hadn't come. Also the girl saw that the man was reading something huge. She didn't know that it was a newspaper. The boy said that it collected all the events and information that happened in the world and it was printed on paper. But the old man couldn't believe that the girl didn't know about such things as how the boy offered to help the girl, and the old man was sure that this house would turn into a kindergarten. But before the boy started to read the paper, the old man ordered the girl to eat, because she was too thin. Even if she grew up she would still be the size of a squirrel. The girl was already walking in the garden. She was alone, because the boy also vanished when he ate. Then Ossia asked if she could walk. The old man allowed it. She went outside and saw the garden, made of glass. Inside was very beautiful. Girl heard that glass is very expensive, but all the walls are made of it. Inside the boy was already sitting and watering the flowers. The girl saw a cactus, the boy said that it grows on another land, and it grows only on the peninsula of the growing moon. The girl did not understand how he was here. The cactus grew with the help of magic. The boy saw Ossia sad and asked her what the problem was. The girl asked about her friend, if the boy knew him. He answered that sometimes he appears here, but quickly leaves. The girl of course told her not to worry, but she is still nervous. Because Kilt was wounded during the battle, the boy told that everything around the garden is created by him. They are not able to create it with magic, but Kilt can. And the boy sat down at the table. The girl told about her doll that Kilt bought her. It broke on the way here. It would be great if you could fix it. The boy picked it up for a second. He saw that the spell was fine. It just ran out of mana from the impact. You just have to pour it in and the doll will work. Substances needed to use magic. The girl asked where it could be taken from and the boy said it was everywhere, but the girl couldn't see anything and the boy said with his finger that it could only be felt. The girl tried and still felt nothing. The boy offered to take his hand. She would feel it through him. After a while the girl felt mana. The girl wondered if she could put mana in the doll. The boys got together to take the doll and it worked. She thanked the boy for helping her and ran back home, told her grandfather that she had fixed the doll. The man was surprised, but he did not know that such a time was playing with such dolls. The man was surprised that the girl had taken mana there and was surprised that she had done it herself. The man looked at her with a strange look. He praised her for learning to work with her mum. There are very few children with such talent. When her mate arrived, have her ask him to teach her how to conjure. He would tell her all the laws and rules in order. Kilt was a pretend wizard of Cauldron. He had many apprentices. Teaching someone is hard work. The girl wondered if Kilt would praise her. A week later she woke up and saw her friend. The man asked where the grandfather was, and he too went out and started chasing the boy, and the old man asked how Kilt did it, how he found the girl exactly like her. The girl thought, if you think about it, Count Kaizu said the same thing. Kilt promised to tell everything later. Not yet time. He took the girl in his arms and carried her home. The girl didn't understand why she didn't answer so many questions she wanted answers to, but it was better to do it later, and they started to have breakfast. Already at the table the girl showed the doll she had fixed it. After these words Kilt got angry. He promised that he would fix it himself next time, and not only that, he would buy anything he wanted. There was no reason to use mana unnecessarily. The girl was sitting in her room. I was offended. She didn't understand why mana can be used by everyone but not her. The child she met on the lake all know how to use magic. Grandfather said that she has a talent too. A boy came into the room. He asked how she was feeling. She threw herself into his arms. She didn't know what she had done wrong. The boy explained that Kilt was scared. She would ask him again for an answer. When the girl was coming down she heard a dialogue between the grandfather and the boy. In their dialogue it was clear that the Kilt had wounded his age and he would not die soon, and the old man himself, the count, was pleased. And he said that a remnant of the Egeran had brought something strange. The boy was looking for it, but it looked more like a toy. The boy also asked the old man how Ossia learned to control mana. The old man didn't know the answer to that question. He said that she did it on her own. Wanted to fix a doll or something, but the old man asked where he got this kid who looked like her from. But Kilt couldn't tell that, for the guy didn't care how talented the girl was. She didn't need to use magic or know anything about it. And he's not going to teach her. She just doesn't know anything enough that she's often now. The old man was shocked. He didn't understand how the guy could behave like that. He hardly wants the girl to spend the rest of her life living in the mountains playing with toys without learning how the outside world works, without friends. Kilt replied that the outside world was horrible and didn't need to know. The guy of course didn't know how different the world she lived in was from hell, but the guy said he found her in the northern part. Next to her was a retired mercenary. The old man remarked that the girl was very smart and so the guy could safely be her teacher. He had no intention of teaching her magic, so refuse. And the old man asked if the guy was going to adopt her and was told that he was not subject to the system. The historian called him an idiot. Jay said when she grows up she's going to go to school to learn a lot, so she doesn't think there's a better teacher than an ivory tower mage. He talks about friends. If she meets someone she likes more than just as a friend, she will want to marry him. Even when that time comes the guy is sure to spend it smiling like nothing. The men almost fought, but they saw the girl. Kills asked Ossia when, but she is standing. The guy came up and apologized to the girl. He wanted to talk to her. She sat down at the table with the guys. The girl said she heard everything from the beginning of the murder. The girl asked need some money to learn magic. He replied negatively. The girl became and said she really wants to learn magic. She will work hard and pay the tuition. Now she does not earn, well later she will definitely start, and the girl offered to clean the house for tuition, also to cook, and she is sure that she can clean everything. But the guy won't force her to do it, and the girl started to beg hard to be taught magic. Kilt asked the girl if she really wanted to learn it. She firmly said that yes, she really wanted to learn. Boris agreed because he had promised to fulfill any request, but now it was pointless to take back his words. And it was dawn. The girl went downstairs and Kilt was already making coffee. It was hard to find in the north, but the boy somehow got it. The girl tasted it and it was very bitter. The girl asked when their classes would start, but the boy said that there was no hurry. The sun had not even risen yet. The girl thought that he would immediately start and teach. She remembered what the children reflected. They did not understand how such a girl could go to school. They did not even have enough money and so waited for this day. After a while the guys went outside. The girl had never seen Kill so serious. The guy asked if the girl was the son-in-law when winter comes. The girl answered that when it gets cold. She was asked why it gets cold, then the guy asked if the girl thought why trees, mosses and grass can grow on this earth. The girl answered because the soil consists of substances that help plants to grow. But the guy asked why then these substances are in the earth. The girl didn't know how to answer this. The guy put his hand on the grass, used magic. He created a flower. He channeled some of his mana into the ground. It was enough to turn a seed into a sprout. The girl said that plants grow thanks to the substances in the earth, and that is right. If you speak the language of mags, there she lets these stories live. It exists everywhere. The first girl saw Manu in a huge pasture. Who in fact she's been surrounded by magic all her life, the changing of the seasons, the movement of the stars, the ripening of crops, the laying of small eggs, the smell of fresh bread, the howling wolves, all these phenomena created by the team. It is a magical force. The power that makes all things possible, the source of life, the breath of the last dragon on earth. A mage calls someone who has an innate talent to sense and use mana. She must learn magic, not just learn to use it. But now as she has taken up with her since he is on her side, it is his duty as Kan to guide her to the right path. Today he will teach May. Before they begin, she must make him some promises. The girl replied that she was willing to sell her soul. The guy replied that it was not necessary. Firstly, she must never use magic socially to harm. Secondly, she should only use magic when necessary. And finally, let her never try to resurrect the dead. The girl promised. From now on she is the apprentice of the descendant of the Grey Wanderer. And as the bones of the moon will not show beneath the starry sea, she will be his apprentice. She took his hand and he used the magic of her palm, imprinting a sign there. This spell let drive mum. After about a day it will disappear. So every day you have to renew it if she wants and even use magic. Now we'll begin today's lesson. The guy took the stone in his hands. He said it is a mana fireplace, is part of the lanterns they use. Outwardly it looks like an ordinary stone, but it glows when it comes in contact with magical power. Inside such lanterns with mana, the process of charging magic is written off. They are designed to glow when a stone with mana is inside. Her first task is to make this stone glow like he did, and one must imagine that she is a mana lantern. All the girl had to do was to remember the feeling of the first contact with her mum. She was sure it would work. In the end it didn't work. 1 o'clock later it still didn't work. Kills asked where the girl was when it worked. He said in the glass garden behind the house. Then the guy decided to try again there. Every mage has a place most in tune with his energies. Coming there the guy was surprised that the girl found this place. She is far from home. Now he told her to try again. All that changed was the location, but the girl really didn't remember how she did it, so the doll was the first thing she liked. She wanted to fix it so badly, and then she did. She felt a tingling sensation on her palm, something shapeless, weightless. It poured like a liquid, but at the same time it went upwards. And the girl succeeded. The stone glowed, but the guy was visibly upset. It was fine for the first time, but the stone in the net was brighter. As he surmised, this place matched her energies. They will teach her how to control mana here. It's simple. The combination of energy is where the girl can mess up her power, and it's here. Every mage has a place best suited for them. It could be an ordinary place or even an attribute. That is, there is a certain element, there is an attribute that matches the magician. A place with a special meaning can also serve such a purpose. The boy brought tea. Kilt praised the girl. She learned to smog and now she sits in a beautiful garden and drinks tea. Started herself a fairy tale princess. Also the girl during the dialogue supported the question that the guy created this garden. She noted that it is beautiful here but never seen so many plants, and she also likes the glass windows similar to the garden. She is a princess. The girl asked the guy if he likes flowers. He said not really. Then she asked why he created this garden. She thought he liked the colors, but the guy said it was more of a whim. They are a huge desire. The girl wanted to ask something about who she looked like. Kilt answered that she looks like an old acquaintance. She is very similar. He almost thought it was her, but his old acquaintance is dead. That's why the guy called her name in her first meeting, but didn't look for her. I mean, they met by chance. The guy replied that the girl didn't worry about it, but the girl suddenly started crying. She wasn't even sad but didn't understand why she was crying, and the guy also apologized. He didn't want to talk about her, especially to her. It made him rougher than usual, then asked for forgiveness, but the girl took his hands in her palms and assured him that everything was fine and everyone was surprised. That's all. He should care about her more. It was a little peculiarity of the girl to hide what you really want to say. The girl wondered if she didn't look like this woman would he have taken her with him. After that, there was a rule about not bringing it up. She'd never even seen a guy this excited. Until she grows up he'll be kind, at the table as he waited for her, and it'll be okay if she pretends not to know anything. Today the guy said he'll teach the girl something new, so she should come to class at noon. And then they'll have their own room for studying, so she'll definitely come. She finally learned how to write. It was Ossia. The girl wondered before she opened the door how the room looks like Kilt. She went to the waiting room. Was one beautiful room and around stand even books, but the reality was different. But roughly scattered books, messy dirty room as if no one watched the room, and the guy sat at his desk where there were also books scattered with papers. No one ever came in here. He was always alone, and the guy wanted to find Senfuan's automatic pen. After a few more minutes the girl offered to search the room, but the guy replied that this was the most perfect setting for him, and in the end, they didn't find the automatic pen with the flag. For today, they didn't leave things as they were. Kills asked the girl how she used spells. That spell the man gave the girl in the palm of his hand disappeared. He asked how the practice in the glass garden went. She was making some progress. It never worked out with magic. She can feel magic without letters, but she doesn't understand what she is supposed to say. It feels like she is closed behind a transparent wall. The man had picked up on something she was learning that is true. The spell he wrote for her creates a channel between the caster and the mana atmosphere. Even a superb MR can't spoil MRs without spells. Today, he is teaching her the magics that are mostly used by northern mags. He can't write them individually. That's why the man also had a large text written on paper, but the girl still couldn't read it. They were ancient letters from the ivory tower. Usually they use an expression to memorize a spell. The girl wondered if she would be able to use the mags at any point if she rewrote it many times. The guy replied that no, the whole spell is disposable. Once used it loses all its functions, just like a ticket. She needs to rewrite the spell every time, so she needs to memorize it. This is her homework for today. He will gradually teach her combinations of methods. First she needs to rewrite this ancient writing. If it's hard to use a pen, she can write with anything else. The girl asked when she can use magic without drawing it, but the guy said it's impossible. But she didn't understand because the guy uses it without a spell. He replied that in his case it's a little different. It's an exception. She rewrote the spell, but next time she needs to pay attention to the handwriting. The girl asked if she could play in his office before going to bed. She was walking and noticed something strange. The guys replied that it is a research device, working all magical power. It helps to see distant objects better. Special glass, reacting to the magical power. Play a role in improving vision since far away you can see using it. Asked the girl. He replied that he can see stars all right, so he showed her and she saw a star. The quality is directly proportional to the magical power of the wizard. Her level of magic, she can't see it clearly yet. The guy pointed to one star. It appears briefly in the north in early summer and then disappears. In the south it is considered the brightest star. They magicians see a completely different sky. In the south, the law of time is also calculated differently. Thereafter sunset around midnight, appears Alton is a star, while Alton sails on it. It seems as if a misty haze covered the whole world, so people in the south believing that the sun rises and sets twice a day. But the girl straight and wanted to look at it at least once. Well, early that for a girl it would be better not to know the outside world. Human curiosity has always grown in a terrible form, so that these words are like a knife lying itself. But the girl did not understand the white desert on the moon. See Crescenta.to all the islands of Izumikan, each of which is said to have different weather. The Great Labyrinth of Egeron, which is recognized as the Dragon's Heart. Fear Ivory, which is worth one end of the Northern Sea. Such a huge world and so small she is, but she wants to know more and wants to go there. The guy said that in the Ivory Tower there is a surveillance machine that is much bigger than this one, a replica of the one in the tower, so their performance cannot be compared. The girl asked why such a similar thing is located in the Ivory Tower. The guy said that it is now known as the Tower of Magic. But it was originally built for social surveillance. because the mags of the ivory tower have yet to find the Ingram. The writer describes it as a man with an unshakable spirit. Scholarly lyricists sometimes compare it to curiosity about taboos. The attraction to the other side, the desire for the unknown is taboo, no one knows the details, but it is also possible to disagree that everyone is drawn to where they want to go back to, so they gather in different places, and just watching. Looking at the seas over which a golden bird once flew, one day hoping to get here. The boy came into the room and told Asa it was time to go to bed. She said goodnight to Kills and left. She seemed to understand what he was thinking then. He definitely misses the Ingram gone. The girl suggested that they read a book together. It was too late. They decided to read a book together with the boy. On the backside of their world lived a huge dragon. A huge dragon slept. He slept in the dark for a very long time. One day the huge dragon opened his eyes and saw before him a bird with golden feathers like he had never seen before. The bird seemed to be watching him. It flapped its wings, spraying light, but it was already bedtime the next morning. The girl sat in front of Kilt, especially the third paragraph. He didn't understand how she even wrote it. Usually the guy was so kind, but Mr. Kilt is a big demon king. And the girl replied that the guy's right was saying that she deserved a reward for anything she could do. It was true. He just wanted to convey to her that with her skills she could easily do it. The girl shrieked that normal people couldn't learn a whole book in 3 days. The guy seems to have fallen for the fact that she is 10 years old. The guy wrote what she didn't finish. She can read it and come up with a more rational formula. He tasked her to classify and analyze the 12 components of magic stones. The girl said do what she can. That was the right answer. But the foundation approach is effective. And you need to fix that part. But the girl didn't understand, and then she wouldn't have time to look at the theory of magic and the 5 great elements. He showed where to start from and where to end. They would see each other in 2 hours, and the girl asked about the Praetor if the Kilt had trained him. He answered in the negative. He is not a born mage, but the girl thought differently. There was definitely something different in the glass garden, as the boy is a living doll in his own right. It's natural for him to have a connection with someone just as dumb. He used himself as a spell machine. The spellcaster was her. The girl at first didn't understand and then was surprised that her friend was a puppet, and no one spoke. He moved like a human, he had emotions, he was perfectly made, but in the end he was a machine. The girl asked what would happen if his mana supply ever ran out in the distant future. If his core with his mum broke, then maybe. The girl asked if Kilt could fix it if in the future it broke somewhere. He answered in the negative. Even he can't do that. It's not the type of technology Asta creates. It's the power of the backside of the world. And the girl took offense, and from her face the guy laughed. Her friend finally gave in, so the man put a wreath on himself. The old man remarked that it suits him. She heard that today is the day to give flowers to the teacher. She also did for the grandfather and the boy. The grandfather and the boy and her friends. Since a long time ago the girl had more friends, so the kindergartner asked if the girl was going to go out into the world and make new friends. But she would like that, and if she could. Everyone looked at the Kilt together. The old man decided to tell the girl a story of when Kilt was still a teacher but royalty, and he was 100 times weaker than he was now. He even thought that if the old man hurt him he wouldn't bleed, and the girl asked if the grandfather was grateful for blood. He said he never got status or something similar, and the boy asked how they met. Suddenly there was silence. Kilt began the story. Once upon a time a Haskan worked as a courtier for the Caldrons family. Nobles need helpers. Even if this boy is not from the royal family. He was entrusted with the title. Mango people are creatures who cannot live without social stratification. The Asterians also talk about equality, but in reality the society is dominated by class division, as one would even think to use shards. The girl wondered what it is in recent times. She is a little girl asking a lot of questions because Kilt raised the topic and he will explain, and if the old man starts to tell it will take a long time. 50 years ago magic was a mystery. Very few people knew how to use it, so nobody knew what magic was. But then someone broke into the great palace in Egeran in the south of the northern mountains. Tabu, the place that served as a refuge, was hidden by the royal family. The girl had heard dragons guarding the treasure room part of the great palace. The old man confirmed such rumors. Still, only one thing was certain for sure: they came out of the heart of the great palace with a huge treasure. It was an Egeran shard, an item that allows ordinary people to sense mana. With this shard, the cities in the center were united into an Asta. Even now, they supplied various goods to the citizens and raised taxes. That was the reason he had a fight with the Caldrons. Because in the central regions united into the largest country on the continent in just half a century. Thanks to this the great kings became more arrogant. Country the old man could not remember the name that liked to call themselves. Kilt helped the old man to remember the thefts and use of power, which was not before since the birth of the self-proclaimed mysterious conqueror. But the girl asked still it would be better if more people would know magic. The old man asked the girl to finish the day need to grow. The next moment the girl held a huge stack of papers. The old man such even surprised and definitely should have asked less to ask he believed at her. The girl entered the room and sneaked quietly, and pounced on Kilt's hand. He was not even surprised, so he was expecting it, but he was surprised, and the man was reading a book about a huge dragon and a golden bird. Now she can read everything. The huge dragon decided to follow the golden bird. The huge dragon woke up and flew on the trail of the golden bird from the backside of the world. However, the huge dragon who lost his power was committed on his way on a hair's breadth of death. The dragon finally saw the golden bird flying by. Afterwards, he watched the starry sea. The boy sent the girl to bed because it's late tonight, so she should read tomorrow. The girl asked what he was thinking about. He said he was thinking about what to give her tomorrow for homework. The girl went to her room. She wanted to take a couple of books with her, and came back and saw that the other room was open, and how Kilt was sitting to open it. She would like to help him so he wouldn't cry, but he wouldn't let her. In the morning the girl came back to the room. She was holding a box with things in her hands. A boy asked her to carry it. She saw her wreath that she had made. It was attached to the wall. Already outside children were eating cake. The girl asked the boy. Someone picked up what she had lost and took it, but did not tell her about it. She did not understand why he did so. The boy replied that maybe it was so important to him that he didn't want to give it back. Back came Kills. The girl went up to him and asked him where he was. He wanted to give her something. He gave her one thing in his hands. There was a letter for my brilliant student, Axis, with the hope that the path of adventure she will take in the future would be a journey filled with unforgettable experiences. Kilt said that today it will be soon a year since she came to this house. It was a gift to her, a mantle. At first, the guy thought about clothes or toys, then remembered that in the castle there is a custom to receive mantles woven by magic. Of course she will get her mantle back when she is an adult. The girl thanked him for the gift, and the guy gave her a hair clip. He thinks her hair has grown back enough. She asked him to tie her ponytail and he did. 6 years later, the girl came home with the boy and the girl was 17 years old. She bought everything the grandfather liked and also pickled chestnuts. Also the old man was able to watch other people's memories, so he asked what kind of person was following them. The boy said it was nothing. They left quickly from there, only the girl wanted to say it was a secret. Behind them a strange voice was heard. He said he thought he would die before he found the place. It was a student of Kilt. He said it was a very clever trick. He had wandered for a very long time. This is the Dragon Ridge hiding house as expected from a teacher. By the way, it had been a long time, but the guy didn't remember what he had, very much like him. So Kilt asked how he got here. He was in Ustra. The apprentice replied that on his way to Brillen he decided to stop in his hometown and get some rest. He was walking down the street and suddenly he felt a wave of mana, and who is so familiar? He was following this little girl. The Kilt let the guy do whatever he wanted and he would go back to his room anyway. He was going to say no, and also the student approached the old man. He had no idea that he was with the teacher, and he didn't recognize him at once. When this happens he realizes that a long time has passed. His face hasn't changed at all. Still the same disgusted face, said the old man. It was an Arabic contract in exchange for the position of Professor Ephraimja. But anyway, not this flying into the forest to go on the path of magic. It's worth it. The girl was surprised because she remembered this university when once a boy with red hair came to her and said he wanted to go there. So she asked this student if he was a professor. He confirmed these words. He said he was the head of the university. His Professor Martin. The girl asked Martin if he had studied in the ivory tower with her teacher. He answered that he had been his assistant when someone else was a Cauldron mage. He was 21 years old. He wasn't competent then. The girl was surprised because he looked quite young now. At that time he was just a stone egg of mana who couldn't even create the right formulas. That's a phrase that means young. I think it was invented when some mags with bad temper quarreled over eggs for breakfast. The girl asked how old Kilt was then. He tried to get off the subject, but the boy pointed out that the girl was quite mature, my lady, and more mature than a student at the university. The girl asked about the university once she read that they don't recognize the 5 great elements. The boy replied that rather the mags of Asta don't recognize the existence of the 5th element, and the boy asked if the girl was familiar with the artifacts of Egeron, a huge magical resource, found 50 years ago. Magic in Asta work using banners and wands with these artifacts. Basically, the artifacts are considered a spell. They are human. He thinks that for the Asterians magic is a real blessing. Few people are born with all the innate power of magic used to be used only by a select few. Now people can use magic. Anyone, regardless of origin in these guys can learn a lot, but Kilt is a real legend of the ivory tower. A descendant of the Grey Pilgrims. All the mags in Asta put together can't compare to him. At his lesson notoriously difficult to understand, a guy can only imagine how she must suffer. The girl replied that at first the lessons were difficult, but now all is well, they are not so difficult to suffer. But Martin didn't understand because his time teacher was strict. The kilt came down to the bottom. He would be happy to repeat any material if that's what Martin wanted out of it, but the lad replied that it was fine and he seemed to have spoken too much. Martin tried to tell him that the Asta was now looking for qualified mags, not paying attention to the origin and status for what they do. It is a big secret. Martin paid attention to the girl. He remembered that she is 17 this year and the new term will start soon. This is the perfect time. Maybe there is a vacant place among the graduates. He can even write her a letter of recommendation. The girl was surprised. She thought only to know can go to a magic school. She would like to, but Kilt answered negatively. He will not allow it. He said no and just ended the conversation. When the guys already went outside, the girl ran after him. She said that she wanted to join the university, and replied that all they teach is practical knowledge about how to serve the nobles. But the girl wanted to see the artifacts, and wanted to know more about the kind of magic used in the Asta. The guy replied that if that was her goal he could teach her that right now, their magic is nothing but childish imitation, completely dependent on artifacts. It's not real magic. If she wants to leave she has to give him a worthwhile reason. The guy said the world is a cruel place, people who look down on you just because of your birth. He says based on experience he was still against it even if the girl tried. He doesn't want her to get hurt. The girl ran away in tears. She didn't realize how long he would treat her like a little child. The old man came to the Kilt's room and asked to let the girl come out because he knows how she wants it. But the guy was sure that someone might recognize her in there and the guy wants her to know about it all. The old man said that the guy needs to calm down because he can't keep her in the dark forever. The old man sees her looking at the school every time she goes to town. If she goes to town Kilt won't see her again. Then the old man suggested he go with her, be a teacher forever or whatever, but he just got sick at the thought. For him it was the best option to stay here. Sure, it's better than being beaten up by an alcoholic father, but this place isn't heaven either. The world is full of dark things that it is better not to know. He wants her to see only beauty, to hear only tender words. He will not make the same mistake again. The old man called the guy crazy. Sometimes he forgets that Ossia is a simple person, but she is not a pet. Tasty yes, and beautiful toys will not help, and nothing will make the old man change his mind. And Martin called him the 16th. He's too old to remember that 10-year argument. The kid still owes him, and they knew it, but if he kills him, the past won't change. So he wants to send the girl to school and end their score. An old man who's about to die is a living corpse, a stuck in time, and a puppet who could break at any moment. Can't let her rot with that kind of rubbish. Life is too precious for that. And the next morning Martin said goodbye. The boy left his stamp which is needed for a letter of recommendation. Besides, even if he goes back home now there is still no one there who knows him. He wished good luck and left. The girl saw Kilt in the window but he just silently turned around and left. The girl already thought that he was disappointed in her because of her persistence. The girl went up to the first floor and the boy met her, but she silently passed by. She didn't understand why he looked like that. A week later the girl was getting ready. She wanted to put a pillow in the bed. She told the boy that she would miss him. He would really like to go with her, but Grandpa can't do anything without him. The girl had already gathered outside and was saying goodbye to everyone. She thanked the old man for what he had done. He asked that she not allow herself to be belittled by stupid children. Kilt came up behind the girl and gave her a box. This is a magical box that sends letters. At the university all letters are checked. If she wants to write to him let her put it in here. He make it himself. She can't worry if someone understands her. He will walk the girl to the Brilliant. Guys knew if she remembered. He once said he didn't want her to know about the outside world. Even now he doesn't want to let her go. If it were his will he would have taken her home and never let her go if his hands weren't tied. But he would have done so. The girl noticed that he himself said he would give her anything she wanted. She wanted to go to school to make friends, to learn magic. She wants to learn so much, but the boy said that soon she will realize that everything is not as she imagined. And it would be better not to know about some things. The man didn't understand why she wanted it so much anyway. She recalled his words that what awaits her, that writing the path of adventure she will take in the future will be a journey filled with wonderful things. It was he himself who wrote to her, the world is so great and full of mysteries. She wants to solve them herself, so she asked him to let her go. The guy replied that the last words are always left to the girl. He replied that let go on a pleasant word. Let her not mention him at the academy. It's not because she's his student, he just wants to keep his secret. She will come back as soon as she finishes the term and will write. And the guy replied that you will wait at the letters. She met Martin, they already went together. They came to the railway station. For the girl this place was not familiar. For her it was more like a palace. Martin told her that they are now reaching the borders of the Asta. Next year the track work will be completed. To the eastern Neolmas through the Great Meadows. The girl asked why they were doing this and Martin replied because efficient transport of goods is the main prosperity. The train arrived and the boys sat inside. Martin warned the girl that the belt might start moving soon, so it was better to sit down. The girl asked what Filian means. Professor. It is an Astarian addressed to a young, unmarried girl. For example, she would be Filian, and addressed to a man is Furman. So the girl thought he could be addressed as Furman, but Martin replied that he was too old for that, he should just be called Professor Martin. The lad wasn't going to say that as he knows it's not appropriate to talk about a lady's appearance, but she looks very much like her. The girl replied that she knew who he was talking about. They people said she looked like someone Kilt used to know. It would be an offering. Martin says this only because Kilt's teacher is not here right now. He went after her because he was so surprised to see her. Basically Martin suspected that Kilt used the word familiar when referring to the woman, but I don't think it's the right word to describe her. Their relationship was, but the guy didn't want to finish it. He wanted to leave it for later, or the teacher himself to behead him. The girl suspected that she had something to do with the royal court. Maybe she worked there too. Martin asked how she came from whom. The conclusions. The girl said that because it seems that at that time when they were close, Kilt worked at the royal court. It was true. Marty, the house is a great learning you academy. After Martin's suggestion that she rest, because they had a long journey ahead of them, she decided to spend her time reading a book. And not just any book, but a story about a great dragon and a bird whose story took on new meaning after a deep dive into the world of magic. Martin, immediately recognizing the content, remembered reading the story as a child. Some say that despite the apparent childlike mythology, the story is actually an allegory of the history of the Mongolian people. In the northern lands to this day, there are dragon worshippers who can be considered heirs to the blood of dragons. This is why many believe that there is a deep connection between this story and magic. It is also connected to the legend of the creation of Caldragon. 1,000 years ago, before the current kingdoms on the continent came into existence, there was still no room for great kingdoms in the world. At that time, the first magician known as Grey Pilgrim, who became the forefather of Ivory Tower, appeared on the scene. To the ancient inhabitants of the era, magic was something mysterious and terrifying, something to be feared and worshipped. The Grey Pilgrim was considered an outcast, and he wandered the continent avoiding society. One day he met a member of the Cauldron family, a rare guest in the royal family of Caldragon. An unusual pact was made between them, and eventually they became inseparable friends. With the help of the Grey Pilgrim, magic became the basis for the creation of the kingdom. There are many theories as to why this particular mage was chosen for this role. Some claim that his name was Ingram, which was associated with the golden bird, the symbol of Caldragon. Whatever the reason, after Ingram conquered the northern lands with his wits, he fulfilled the promise made to the Grey Pilgrim as part of the treaty by organizing an expedition to the Sea of Stars. It is said that all mags, following their nature, inevitably begin to miss the Sea of Stars. The place where the golden bird flies is at the edge of the Eastern Sea. Out of gratitude to the Grey Pilgrim, the King of Caldragon missed his dear friend so much that he decided to erect an observatory tower on Cape Vane, which eventually became known as the Ivory Tower. Such stories, however, are often shrouded in mystery and mysticism, and over time become legends devoid of proof. In the world of magic, where feelings, spells and mysterious moments are woven into a whole, magic lives in the hearts of many, turning even ordinary events into something magical and mysterious. Now, when the boy felt the magic spell in himself, becoming Asta, the girl understood that before her opens the way to the knowledge of magical forces and the world where magic will become her teacher and companion in exciting adventures.